Today we are going to learn about rocks and minerals. Now what is rock? A rock is basically a natural substance and that is composed of solid crystals of different minerals. And these minerals, when fused together into a solid mass, it results into the formation of a rock. Now rocks can be hard or soft. Based on its porosity, it can be classified as hard or soft. Okay, now from the diagram you can understand here, in this diagram, the in between spaces here, the interlocking grains, it has got no spaces, and this is considered as non-porous, and this is basically found in rocks which are hard in nature. In this case, you can find there are spaces in between the grains, and this is basically considered as a soft one. Hard rock example is granite, and soft rock example is sandstone. In the next part, we are going to learn about the classification of rocks. Rocks can be divided into three major classes according to the processes that resulted into their formation. The first one is the igneous rock. These igneous rocks have solidified from molten material called magma. What is magma? We are going to learn about it a little bit later. Next classification is sedimentary rock, which is consisting of fragments and that has been derived from the pre-existing rocks of materials precipitated from the solution. And the last but not the least, is the metamorphic rock. It has been derived from either igneous rocks or sedimentary rocks, and it is formed under conditions that caused changes in mineralogical composition, texture and internal structure. Now we are going to learn in details about igneous rock. Now basically igneous means fiery. That means something related to heat or fire. Now these rocks do not contain any fossils or organic matter. They are formed when magma cools off. Now what is magma? Now below the earth's crust there is a melted rock called magma. And this magma is kept in molten form or in liquid form because of the extremes of temperature present there. Okay. Now this magma, when comes out as lava and cools on the surface, it is known as extrusive igneous rocks, as you can see in the diagram. That means when during a volcanic eruption, this magma pours out to the surface of the crust, and when the magma comes out to the surface, it is said to be lava. And this lava, when cools off quickly on the surface, this results into a cooled form, lava. It results into the formation of pumice. This type of formation of rock is known as extrusive igneous rock because they are formed outside the crust. That is why it is extrusive. Another way we can classify it as intrusive igneous rock. Okay, in intrusive igneous rock, what happens? Sometimes magma cools off very slowly under the earth's surface and it solidifies into rocks. And these are basically the hard rocks. Okay, slowly this cooled magma produces bigger crystals than the fast cooling magma. And this is known as intrusive igneous rocks because they are formed from magma underground. Okay, granite is basically an example of igneous rock formed in this way. In the next part, we are going to learn about some uses. Now, the first and foremost is granite. Now, granite is basically a light colored igneous rock, and it has very visible pores, okay, as you can see in the diagram here. And this is the best known igneous rock. Many people recognize granite because it is the most common igneous rock found at the earth's surface, and also granite is used to make many objects, okay, that we encounter in our day-to-day life. This include countertops, It is also used to make many objects like floor tiles, paving stones, stair treads, building, the cemetery monuments. These are also used for, kitchen countertops. Next is pumice. Pumice is a light colored volcanic rock, and as you can see in the diagram here, it is extremely porous, and it is basically giving an foamy like appearance. Okay, now it is basically a lightweight, and it has got lots of air spaces, as you can see in the diagram. It is used by cosmetic and cleaning industries to make things like excess skin removing stones. Other than that, it is also used in some toothpaste products because of its abrasive nature. Now, next is basalt. Basalt is basically used near the railway lines. Another one is sedimentary rock. Now, sedimentary rock is one of the three major rock groups made by the deposition of the weathered remains of other rocks. Now, what is the meaning of weathered? Weathered basically refers to the various processes of physical integration as well as chemical decomposition, and this occurs when rocks at the Earth's surface are exposed to the atmosphere. These sedimentary rocks are formed when sand, mud and pebbles get laid down in layers. Now, common examples that we see here is sandstone, limestone and shell. These rocks often start as sediments carried in rivers and deposited in lakes and oceans. And when buried, these sediments lose water and become cemented to form rock, which is known as sedimentary rock. Now we are going to learn about the uses of sedimentary rock. Now, the most common one is the rock salt. Now, this rock salt belongs to the group of chemical sedimentary rocks usually formed by the minerals, that is the sodium chloride. It is basically used for flavoring. It has a salty taste. Next is the limestone. Now, limestone is a sedimentary rock used in making cement, manufacturing lime, making paper, glass, insecticides, fiberglass, coating chewing gum, and making petrochemicals. Shale is mainly seen at the floor of the lakes or oceans. They are at times added to the bricks and cement. Again, quartz is also used as an abrasive for sandblasting, grinding glass and cutting soft stones. Next, we are going to learn about metamorphic rock. Now, the word metamorphic has come from the word metamorphism. That is why it is so named. Okay, why? Because its appearance is the result of the process metamorphism. And metamorphism, what is metamorphism? It is basically the addition of heat or pressure to the existing rocks, and that is resulting into change both physically and chemically, so that they become a new rock. It can change so much that it may not resemble the original rock. It can be formed into any type of rock. It can be igneous, sedimentary or metamorphic. It can become a new type of rock, metamorphic rock. All that is needed is enough heat or pressure to alter the existing rock's physical or chemical makeup without melting the rock entirely. Okay, now there are sometimes extreme pressure is seen, and that may lead to foliation. And this foliation you will get to see in the next part in gneiss. Okay, when you're going to learn about the uses, I'm going to again focus on foliation. Okay, so this foliation is nothing but the flat layers that form in the rocks as the rocks are squeezed by pressure, and this is seen in gneiss. Some common metamorphic rocks and their original parent rock. Now, what is slate? The slate is the metamorphism of shale. Gneiss is the metamorphism of various different rocks. This is resulting because of extreme conditions of heat and pressure. I just talked about the foliation part. So this is what is the foliation all about. Here you can see this flat layers inside the rock, in the rock. Okay, and this is basically formed due to pressure, extreme of pressure. This is called foliation. Okay. Next is the marble. Marble is the metamorphism of limestone, and quartzite is the metamorphism of sandstone. Next, coming to the uses of metamorphic rocks. Now, this quartzite and marble are commonly used for building materials and artwork. Marble is beautiful for statues and decorative items. Ground of marble is also a component of toothpaste, plastics, and paper. Now, quartzite is also used for building railway tracks because of its hard in nature. So, due to its hardness, it is often crushed and used in building railroad tracks, as you can see here in the diagram. Slate is sometimes used as building and landscape materials. Graphite is used as lead in pencils, and it is a mineral commonly found in metamorphic rock. Gneiss has many uses as a building material such as flooring, ornamental stones, gravestones, facing stones on buildings and walk surfaces. Next, we are going to learn about minerals and ores. Minerals are naturally occurring chemical substances, and these are present in the earth's surface and obtained by mining. Coming to the ores, ores are the minerals that can be economically and conveniently extracted. For example, hematite. Hematite is the mineral ore of iron. Bauxite is the mineral ore of aluminium. Copper glans is the mineral ore of copper. Next is alloy. Now, what is alloy? Alloy is the mixture of metals and non-metals. Okay, so any compound that is made up of either by both metals, or it can be one metal and non-metal. Like we can see in the examples, steel. Steel is a combination of iron, which is a metal, and carbon, a non-metal. Bronze is a combination of copper, which is a metal, and tin as a metal as well. Brass is also a combination of both metals, that is copper and zinc. Now, next we are going to learn about fossil. Now, the word has been derived from the Latin word which means obtained by digging. Okay, fossils are the remains and traces of ancient organisms, and it is a you can see here an extinct cephalopod. Okay, it is a cluster of ammonites, and this fossil, this type of fossil is a physical evidence of a prehistoric animal. Okay, fossils are basically the remains or traces of ancient life that have been preserved by the natural process. It can be from the spectacular skeletons to tiny sea shells. Even we have come to know about dinosaurs. You have learned about dinosaurs. So even we have come to know about dinosaurs from their footprints, and these are called the trace fossils. So fossils are most often preserved within the sediments that were deposited in water such as wetlands, river basins, or the oceans. Now, the question is how these fossils are formed. Now, fossils basically forms based on some factors. The most important and the first step is the remains or traces of life that must be buried as quick as possible. It is because the longer they remain exposed, the more likely it is that they will be destroyed by the scavengers or by the environment itself. So most of the fossils are formed in the sedimentary rock. When the organism dies, decomposition of the body begins to occur. And if it is buried quickly by fine sediment, it can leave an imprint before the complete decomposition. Then the fine sediment can seal the imprint before the sediment turns to rock, resulting in the formation of fossil. Now, we are going to learn about the uses of fossils. Now, this fossil helps us to know about how living beings extinct, uh, how they existed. It can also give an information about how plants and animals obtain food, reproduce, and how they behaved. It also helps us to understand the age of different rock layers. coming to the fossil fuel. Fossil fuels are hydrocarbons, primarily coal, fuel oil, or natural gas, and these are formed from the remains of dead plants and animals. Okay, now fossil fuels are found in almost every product that we use on a daily basis. Now, coming to the uses of fossil fuels, coal is usually used primarily to generate electricity generation. Steel, it can also be used in steel production, cement manufacturing, and as a liquid fuel as well. Other important uses of coal include paper manufacturers. It is not something related to chemical and pharmaceutical industries. Okay, several chemical products can be produced from the byproducts of coal. Now, refined coal tar, okay, it is used in the manufacture of chemicals such as naphthalene, phenol, benzene. Now, thousands of different products have coal or coal byproducts as components, like soap, aspirins, dyes, plastics, and fibers. Okay, you have heard about this. Next, coming to the uses of petroleum. Now, the word petroleum has been derived from the Latin word petra, meaning rock, and odium meaning oil. So, it is so called because it is derived from the rocks like many other minerals, and therefore it is also known as mineral oil. It is used primarily in terms of transportation. The entire transport system of the world depends upon petroleum. It has, revolutionized the entire transport system, be it road, rail, water, or air transport. Petrol and diesel are the main source of energy for all types of modern transport vehicles. Next, it also helps in industrial power. How? Now, oil is the major source of industrial power. Diesel and gasoline, they are used in gas turbines to produce electricity. Now, heavier oils are used in central heating plants for shops, offices, as well as homes. Oil is used to produce electricity, as you've already learned, for industrial and domestic use. And the lighter grades of oil, such as kerosene, I hope you have heard this. These are still used for domestic purposes. Next, it also acts as lubricants. Lubricants are basically useful for all types of machines, especially for the machines used in transport and industries. All types of lubricants and greases are produced from the petroleum. Vehicles of all kinds and the vast range of any kind of sophisticated machinery that is being used in factories and offices rely on this kind of lubricants. Next, it also helps in the petrochemical industry. Okay, both petrochemical and chemical industries use petroleum byproducts as raw material because it is used to produce chemical fertilizers, synthetic fibers, synthetic rubber, nylon, plastic, pesticides, and insecticides, perfumes, dyes, paints, carbon black, and sulfur. So, petroleum plays a very important role in our life. It is also used as byproducts. Most important products and byproducts are petrol, paraffin, diesel, gas oil, petrochemical byproducts like, you know, plastic detergents, grease, Vaseline, wax. These are produced. Now coming to the natural gas. This gas is very important. It is used in amazing number of ways. This gas is delivered to the homes through pipelines or in tanks as CNG. CNG means compressed natural gas, and most of the natural gas in consumed in homes, and it is used for space heating and water heating. It is also used in stoves, ovens, clothes, dryers, lighting fixtures, and other appliances. Okay, so this natural gas reserves are deep inside the earth, like coal and crude oil. Apart from the uses I have already described before, it is also used to produce electricity. So basically, this is all about rocks and minerals. Hope you have understood the chapter. Thank you.